All right, we are now going to section 5 in chapter 14. And what we've been working with previously are fixed rate mortgages. All right. So what that means is that whatever the interest rate, the nominal rate, the annual percentage rate for that mortgage is the same through the whole life of the mortgage. Okay. But we also talked about adjustable rate mortgages where depending upon, there might be an initial teaser rate for a certain time period, an initial interest rate per year. And then after a certain time period, the rate will adjust. Okay? And that's an adjustable rate mortgage. And so once that rate period is up and you get a new interest rate, then the remainder of your loan is calculated based off of how many years are left to determine what your new payment is. And we can do that. We know how to do that. If we know the remaining amount of time and what the current balance is, the current present value, we can determine what the payments are at the new interest rate. It's just a brand new annuity problem at that point. And your time is T will be, or little n will be determined by how much time is left on the loan. Okay, so you can calculate this. You can do this with the adjustable rate mortgage. For this lesson, we're not going to create new mortgage schedules. We're just going to determine what is the new rate. All right. So when you talk about adjustable rate mortgages, there's a few terms that you have to know. Basically, what happens is that normally the interest rate for an adjustable rate mortgage, the beginning of the rate is really cheap, and that's to get people into it. Normally, people with credit that's not real good or is subpar might look at an adjustable rate because that initial rate is cheaper than what they can get with a fixed. What they don't see is, and they don't pay attention to, is that after the adjustment period, the rate will go up. And they don't pay attention to the max amount the rate will go up. In recent years, the government has put on stipulations that you have to announce what the rate cap is, meaning what is the maximum the interest can go up, how much per period can it go up, and then for the life of the loan, how much can it go up. So they make them put caps on it so that you can, as a consumer, you can understand what you're buying into. Okay? Now, we talked about the adjustment period. So that's the period between one rate change and the next. All right, the amount of time between one rate change and the next on an adjustable rate mortgage, generally 1, 2, or 3 years. And they'll list it, hey, this is a 1-year adjustable rate mortgage. This is a 2-year adjustable rate mortgage. This is a 3-year adjustable rate mortgage. So every 3 years, they will adjust the rate. All right, up to a max. So you have to pay attention to that. How long is that rate good for? All right. Then what you need to pay attention to is that most adjustable rate mortgage interest rates change based on an index. There's an interest index that's out there. These indexes generally depend on the nation's economy, the overnight lending rate, and so these indexes go up and down, kind of like a stock. And it's based on demand and what the current economy is. All right. What can lenders offer is basically what it is. What's money being lent for? And so that's how they base it off this index. Okay? So this normally it results in higher monthly payments. Normally the index goes up instead of down. It's very rare that an adjustable rate goes down. Normally it'll stay the same instead of go down. Okay? But normally it goes up. So it's based off of the index, okay? Now, what you need to know when you do this, all right, is you need to know the lender's margin. So the interest rate, the lender is going to make money. So there might be an indexed rate to start with, all right? But then the lender is going to put on an amount that they make money. So the index rate might be 2%, but the lender's margin is 2%. So they're going to give it to you for 4%. That makes sense. So the lender's margin, or the spread, is the amount they add to whatever the index rate is at that time. That's the lender's margin. So you need to pay attention to that. It differs among lenders, and it can make a big difference. One lender might have a higher spread than another. You need to pay attention to that if you're doing ARMs. P.S. I don't suggest ARMs. So just saying that out loud. So to calculate the initial ARM interest rate, all right, that's the rate of the adjustable rate mortgage to which all future adjustments and caps apply. So the initial rate is what your initial ARM is. And it's usually a rate that is lower. It's usually a rate, they call it a teaser rate. So your first initial ARM interest rate is usually this really low rate. It's a teaser. And it's one of the main appeals. Like I said, people with low credit see, oh, well, I can get an adjustable rate for like 3 points cheaper than a fixed rate. But without protections, without these caps, the rate goes up really quickly, depending upon if it's a 1, 2, or 3 year adjustable rate. So to prevent this, there are limits, all right? So the interest rate caps are placed on the amount of interest that the rate can increase. All right, it might be periodic rate caps. So if it's looked at every year or every 2 years, they might say, hey, every period you can only increase by this much. All right. And then after the periodic rate cap, there's an overall rate cap. So it might say, hey, you can only increase 1.5% per period, whether it's 1, 2, or 3 years. And then they'll say, and then for the life of the loan, you can only increase by 4 points. So you know that if you initially started at the 4% as your initial ARM interest, if you start at 4 and the cap is 4, then the max you will ever pay is 8. But think about it. If the fixed rate is 5 or 6%, why would you want to pay 8 eventually? You will pay more interest then, okay? So the maximum rate per adjustment period would be the previous rate, whatever you're currently paying, plus the rate cap. So if the rate cap is 1.5%, you're paying 4, then the next rate can't go above 5.5. And the maximum overall rate is whatever your initial rate was, the teaser rate, plus the overall cap. So if you started at 4 and the overall cap is 4, then the maximum overall rate is 8. All right? So pretty simple. So let's look at the example real quick, and we'll do the triad exercise in the same video. All right. So Florence bought a home with an adjustable rate mortgage. The lender's margin on the loan is 2.5%, and the overall rate cap is 6. So the lifetime rate cap is 6%, and the lender's margin is 2.5. So if the current index is 4.9, what is the calculated interest rate of the ARM? What is the initial rate? So if the margin's 2.5 and the index currently is 4.9, then it's going to be 4.9 plus 2.5. 4.9 plus 2.5. So it's 7.5. 7.4% is the calculated initial rate. And then if the overall cap is 6% of the life of the loan, then it's going to be 7.4 plus 6%. So at some point it will go to 13.4. And this can happen with adjustable rates. 13, to me that's usury. That's criminal. That's too high. So you have to be careful of these adjustable rate mortgages. A lot of times what happens is people will take the teaser rate. All right, 7.4 doesn't feel like a teaser rate, but if you have really bad credit, it might be. And then once they build some credit because they pay their loan on time and they start building their credit score back up, they might refinance to a fixed that might be at a lower rate or freeze this rate, lock this rate in. All right, so that's about the only time ARMs are used effectively. You're only going to use them in the short term because the adjustment period will raise your rate. And so a lot of times you work within that adjustment period to say, yep, I'll raise my credit or I'll use the cash now and then lock in a fixed rate later. All right. If we do the triad exercise, all right, so Kate bought a home with an adjustable rate mortgage. All right, the lender's margin is 3.4. So notice this lender is a 3.4 margin. The previous lender was a 2.5 margin. So lenders have different margins. So you have to pay attention to that. How much interest are you going to pay in the long run? All right, so if 3.4 is the margin, I write this up here. All right. And the lenders and the rate cap, the life rate cap is 7%. Goodness gracious. That's a lot of interest. All right. And the current rate is 3.2. All right. So what is the initial rate? Well, the initial rate is going to be 3.2 plus 3.4. That's the margin. So it's going to be 6.6. All right. So initially that might not be bad. If you have a poor credit history, or you don't have credit history and you're doing a traditional conventional loan, the adjustable rate might save you some money initially. But then we throw in the life cap. So let's say the adjustment period is 2 years. All right. So every 2 years, they're going to look at the rate based on the index and adjust it. And guess what? It's going to go up. It rarely goes down. And the life cap, after so many rate adjustment periods, the life cap is it can raise 7%. So the maximum that you will pay, all right, the maximum overall is going to be the current initial rate plus the cap. So it's going to be 13.6%, which is a lot. All right. And we haven't seen double-digit interest rates on mortgages in forever. I showed you that chart previously, how mortgages have come down. It's single digits now. It's low single digits. So this would be bad. So at some point, you'd want to get out of this adjustable rate mortgage and get a fixed rate. Okay? So in this chapter, we talked about closing costs for a home. That's what we finished out here in section 1. And then we talked about the adjustable rate mortgage. Okay? And you could figure out initially what the schedule is for 6.6% through the adjustment period. And then when the new rate comes, you would figure out the schedule for the adjustment, for the next adjustment period, so on and so forth. So each adjustment period would have a new schedule. And you could figure out your payments, know how much interest you're paying on the principal balance, and how much you're paying against the balance each month. So you can figure this out with what you've learned already. Okay? I will assign homework, and I hope you guys have a great weekend. I miss you guys, and I need to be doing a lot of grading this weekend. So have a great day. Be well. Be safe. Miss you. Talk to you later. Bye.